Okay, hey everyone. Thanks for being patient on a second response here. We actually, my wife was sick last week, so all these kind people are willing to do this today, last minute. We're not camera ready, which is great.
I'm never camera ready.
Kate Minahan is now filling in for Nathan Jensen. Nathan's
Upgrade!
gonna be
Yep.
great. We did not text him, so he was not here this morning. We all showed up early, like we should have, and he's goofing off at home. So
Not make the cut.
we have Kate Minahan, Kevin Mathewson, Mitch Tucker. In case you don't know them, I work with them. They're great people. We're going to go through the last questions of the relationship series we did. So first question is, physicality aside, what is the difference between being good friends and dating? Thoughts?
Oh, you already went. Sorry. This is my first cup of coffee in the morning.
Mitch hasn't quite got the coffee going.
The video is going to be a long one because we can't get going.
I'd say for me, at least the intention of the relationship, I'd say, is the biggest difference. You can have committed and loyal friendships as well, but it's really the intention. What is your intention towards dating this person to see if they're right for marriage, or is it just a friendship? So I would say the intention for marriage is the difference between that in dating compared to a friendship.
And being clear with that, with the other person. So, like, if a girl is getting to know this guy as a friend, thinking like, oh, I'm really interested in him, but thinking you maybe friend zone him for a while, the guy probably just sees you as a friend and isn't thinking past that.
Yeah.
Probably. And the girl, I know a girl's mind can maybe think, oh, I'm gonna get to know him as a friend and like try to get my way in there a little bit, and then maybe. But I think you need to be clear with where you are in the friendship. And wasn't there a video that we watched?
So that one sort of says the opposite.
Yes,
well,
yeah.
or not the opposite, but it says ladies think, oh, this guy's just a friend, and the guy is actually pursuing her and wants more than that. But he's been friend zoned.
Yes. So being clear with, I think, where you are.
Yeah.
For a girl and a guy. Like the girl, I think, probably has a little bit more emotion tied to, maybe not a friendship. but
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think it's a tricky question. When the question says being good friends, I think it does beg the question: can a guy and a girl
Yes.
be good friends? And what does that mean by good? Does that mean spending one-on-one time all the time with each other? I mean, I'm not in the dating sphere anymore. I have a wife. However, I can't say I have any good friends who are girls. I have a bunch of good guy friends, but I can't say that I have a good friend who is a girl who is not my wife. No, I have friends who are girls, but so I don't know if I have a 100% black and white answer to can you have a good friend who is opposite sex? But
I mean, maybe define that a little bit too, because
Yeah.
what you said, you have friends who are females, who are girls. What's the difference between, obviously outside of the marriage and the physical aspect, what is the difference? And I think I know what it is, but to communicate, because that's going to answer some of it.
So I mean, Kevin and I are friends, and so if we would go out to lunch to each other with, who cares? What if
I care
What
because
if
I
I-
wasn't invited.
well, it happens every Wednesday. What if I would go out to lunch with a girl just one-on-one, and I would say, oh no, we're friends. No, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's just a difference. I mean, things that like Kevin and I could just do on a normal basis and not even think about. You probably should think about when it's kind of a one-on-one good friend. And I know that there are people that disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But
Yeah, and I think purpose, obviously, kind of the intent purpose is important. I do think you can have both. And I mean, it's valuable to have that. Obviously, again, you have to be careful. I mean, if you're just looking at everybody as, if you're a single guy, you're looking at every girl as a possibility.
potential.
As potential, then you're never going to get to that different. It's always going to be with the intent of dating. You've missed the whole point. But I think you can develop some good friendships and people that'll have your back. And I can say even, I think of some, again, it changes once you're married or once you're dating. But I haven't lost some of those friendships that I developed.
Yeah.
I've got some close ones from when I was in Montana and some living there. That's long before I met Ellen. And actually I was in a band and there were several girls.
What was your band name?
Doesn't matter. I don't even know. It's called Hearts Fire. And it was fronted by 3 girls that sang. And they were all married, but one of them I worked with prior to the band, and she's still a good friend. But I would have never, and even then, we would have never gone out. Like we would have never gone to like lunch, like Mitch said, or something. And that, but I still communicate, and they pray for me, and I pray for them, and we talk, and I've been around their kids, and even when I was back there, I babysat the one lady's kids for a couple times, or one of my friends, and so it's cool. So we still have those, but all that to say, there's a difference, and those develop both, and they'll change, and as your relationship changes, and they have to, because there's things, but you still need good friends. But don't get in the habit of like looking at, when you're single, looking at everybody as potential. Look at friends, and they're maybe there's somebody who's a really good friend that maybe there's another box they don't tick that you feel for, that might be something you want in a dating, or a marriage partner. If you're obviously don't be dating, we talked about that, don't be dating just to date, but but still somebody who could be a good friend and could challenge you on stuff or make you a better person, but maybe not somebody who you'd also want to spend the rest of your life with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think for like the college students, just it goes back to being clear being clear and honest with where you're at. And I know when I was in college, I did have a lot of friends that were guys, which it wasn't a bad thing. I'm still friends with them and like their wives today, but I know like our minds can maybe go somewhere else, or may have like maybe feeding false hope if you're getting to know this guy, like Mitch said, or girl, I guess, going out to lunch and stuff like that. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're in college and like one-on-one, but like if you're spending a lot of time with the other person, there's probably like that's too much. And other guys will see that for a girl, so like you may be missing other opportunities if you're just spending all your time with this one friend of the opposite sex.
Yeah. And I had ladies that were friends growing up, and I mean, some of them even go to this church today, and they're married and have kids, and I have kids, and we're still friends. But like you're saying, the marital dynamic, once they're married or you're married or something, that relationship rightfully changes and shifts a little, and there's protection in different areas.
One thing, and I think it could apply even to dating, and kind of something Katie said, like triggered something in my mind, is when you have those, once you begin like dating, engaged, married, whatever, then bring your partner into that, don't keep don't keep them on the side. Like my wife knows these girls, they're ladies now. We're all old. They're mid-40s is old. Some of them were younger than I was. But my wife, she was brought in, so she knows these. We've been out to Montana, and I've introduced her. So it's not like I've kept she doesn't know my friendships.
Yeah,
and,
like secret.
Yeah, and
friendships.
same with her, and I've met people that she's considered, guys that she would consider friends and that. So it's not, and same with a dating, I think it's a protection thing. So you're not like tempted or just keeping somebody on the side. It's like, hey, let me introduce you to my, it's my friend from we've been friends ever since we've been in grade school, and hey, this is my, my wife, or this is, I've been dating, this is, whoever, and, kind of thing. And so it opens and makes sure it's clear, and it knocks down some of those secretive boundaries.
So I'd say this, in light of all this, I do highly recommend friendships as a precursor to dating. Get to know someone in group settings, like Kate was saying. Don't just spend all this one-on-one time with somebody who's your friend and you don't have titles, but you're really secretly both interested, or one of you's interested. You'll quickly have some good discernment in that. You get to know them at Resonate, at church, in serving opportunities. Plug for junior high. If you are on the older edge of our ministry, you can be at Ignite maybe. I don't know, maybe. Junior high, higher ground, different places to serve in the church. Still be guarding against just a deep emotional, physical, or spiritual intimacy on both sides. Be guarding your heart. But friendship is a solid basis for a relationship and a marriage, and really that's a key part to it. So do have friendships, do explore that. Don't just jump into relationships with people, but get to know them first. Okay, second question. What is the appropriate amount of touching while in a relationship? All right, you guys answer this, I'll be a minute.
Think junior high dance. You know, they stay on the opposite end of the, yeah, like don't.
Close your eyes, don't even look.
Touching, like this is PDA.
This was just the question that was submitted, and I know there's a lot of questions maybe about that. I would say in private, like if it's two people and you're dating or interested, however much you're willing to touch each other in front of your parents, whatever you're comfortable.
That just sounds awkward, but that works. That's
Yeah.
pretty much a good question.
Whatever,
You wouldn't say or do it
you
in
know,
front of your mom.
Yeah, if you're not going to do this in front of your parents, then that's probably, it's a good boundary. Or whatever.
If you would, and it's kind of sketchy, you might want to question.
Yeah, and if you would, come talk to me. Like, we
Or
can
if your
talk.
mom would approve.
I know
like,
not all of your parents are believers or living for the Lord, so I fully get that. But even unbelieving parents probably still have some good boundaries and limits. It's not that they're just
Your
completely
grandma.
amoral.
That one out there.
Or whatever you're comfortable with someone doing with your future spouse. That's also another question to ask yourself of, well, would I be comfortable with somebody else doing this with my future spouse, provided the Lord gives you a future spouse?
I think a lot of it has to do with where you're at in the relationship as well. If you just started a date 2 hours ago and you're already making out, probably a little bit
Give it another
too
hour.
fast. Give it another
Rachel text Nathan.
But to be honest, I would be concerned, you know, if you're about ready to get engaged and it doesn't seem like you guys are attracted to each other
Yeah, that's an
at
issue.
all. That's weird too. So I mean, a lot of it is just really open and honest communication on the beginning part of the relationship, and just continuing those just open doors of communication, just being honest with each other, and spending a lot of time in prayer, spending a lot of time in accountability with same gender individuals, and just saying, hey. But I mean, attraction that comes from God. That's a good thing. So if there isn't any,
That's a problem.
That's a red flag too. But
I think you talked in the previous one about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Was that a little bit? Yeah. So just having set boundaries and knowing those, and knowing that, like Mitch said, it should be hard, kind of. It should be hard you should be attracted to them, but having those boundaries and being able to cut it off when you need to, but also not that side of it, more like the PDA.
Yeah, and that's sort of another dynamic. That's
yeah.
like, is this what you're asking?
Yeah, I think you said something about it can be annoying to other people. I think PDA, holding hands is fine. You have to know kind of where you're at. If you're at church walking through the atrium and you're all over each other, that's probably not a good idea. Like, you don't see other couples, married couples, Mitch's
I saw
laughing.
Mitch and Sarah making out in the atrium after the 9 a.m. I'm just kidding.
Are they the ones that take the upper two seats in the
Yeah,
corner?
they get in
Mitch
the
and
far
Sarah,
back in the worship
during the
center.
service?
And think about how weird that would be.
I don't know.
balcony.
But you do see, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe some younger couples who are a little bit more handsy around a lot of people that's like just kind of annoying. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's okay. There should be, people should know that you're together. Like, you shouldn't be shy or hide away from that. Like, it shouldn't be a secret that you're dating somebody. But also, you don't need to be
like they're attached.
Yeah.
Like
Like just walking around.
they can never not touch.
holding hands. I
It's
think
like-
it's fine, but like, I don't know. having your arms, oh, I don't know.
No,
Around each other.
it's hard to define, like say exactly, but you know it when you see it. It's just like
Yeah.
seriously, back off, you know.
Yeah, I can see, I know
And,
specific things
and
in
not
my head
even
right now.
not
that I
even
see up there.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's just like over the top. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Like,
just, I think
okay,
maybe
easy
is
trigger.
annoying is the right way
Yeah.
to explain it. And it's, what are you trying to do? Like, what message are you trying to relay by having your arms all around each other in the middle of the church atrium? Or if it's even like just a resident hangout, or if you're just going to Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever, like,
and conscious of who you're around. too.
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
especially I think for you guys being around, like we're around a bunch of married couples a lot. I mean, that's
Yeah.
no big deal. But if you're going to be around where there's
Couples,
probably
single
people who might be frustrated with their
Yeah.
dating life or love life, or might have gotten hurt or something, that just make like you're rubbing
Just be
salt in the
aware.
you're
Yeah.
rubbing salt in the wound. So it's you're back off. Your relationship doesn't need like seriously. I mean, it's not.
You're not acting in love, right?
Yeah, and it's
we're called
like
to
it
do that as
doesn't need
believers.
that. You're not.
yeah. But also looking at other godly couples and like some married couples, you mentioned married couples in the ministry or at church, some of your parents, like, do you see them all over each other
Yeah,
when you're out in public and like, I don't know.
yeah.
It's okay to let people know that you're dating, you should, but I think there
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
line
If you,
I can go to.
if you look at the Blackwells on a Thursday night, or Ministry Thing, or us, or the Kresnikas, or the Hulins, like we're all married, and some of us have kids, so obviously we've done more than hand holding. I'll just leave
Whoa,
it at
what?
that. I'll explain it to you
Okay,
guys
good.
later. But if you see us on a ministry night, yeah, there might be a bit of PDA or whatever, and that's fine. But for the most part, we're not attached at the hip, and we're not just all over each other. And so I think a lot of times, just a lot of the PDA and the over-the-top stuff happens with really young and immature relationships that really they don't have that confidence in each other, so they always have to be touching or around each other. But as you get more certain and more solid in a relationship, there will be a proper amount of balance, correct? What were you saying, Kev?
The other thing I was going to throw in, like, and I think Mitch had mentioned this the last time we did the video, kind of that floor ceiling principle.
Yeah.
Like, every time you go a little bit further, deeper, whatever you want to say, that becomes like your new floor of what you've done. And there should be a progression, like you said. I mean, if you're engaged and your marriage is just imminent, and you haven't done any held hands or anything, and you're just not
They're
like
still icky.
yeah, then there's a problem. There should be a gradual progress. I mean, and I say that, be careful, like oh, so I can get right up to sex without, no, not that, but there should be, like you said,
Yeah.
there should be a little bit as you go, but every time you do, that becomes like you're new. And so you start out within a couple hours and you're all over each other, and it's, then the next time you get together, that's like where you
the
expect to start.
expectation, yeah.
Yeah.
And especially for a guy, and I struggled with this, whether you buy into the love language stuff or not, my love language is sarcasm, but actually it's physical touch. I do appreciate that, and I like to give that out, and so that makes it, if you're a guy,
Good to know, Kevin.
if you're a guy who has that,
Love you.
and that's your way of expression, and that feels natural and good to you, then it's harder to back off, and you're going to want to do that and or receive it, and so you really have to be careful, and but just know if you're like really about physical touch, this is a big deal, and it's going to be harder if you let it go and get somewhere that the next time you're just going to start there. And
All right, question 3. What does it look like to break up well? What does it look like to break up well?
is that an oxymoron?
No, I think it is. I mean, if you're thinking that any type of breakup is going to, what's the word well mean? No one likes breakups. It's one of those things that a lot of people go through in life. That's part of the junk of life. And if you're thinking well, as in like roses and daisies, well's never going to happen in a breakup. But you can handle it poorly.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, handling it well and respecting the other person. And
So I think we've said this already a few times, but a lot of this is just being honest and communication. Because I've seen it several times both ways, where someone wants to break up with someone, and maybe for some good reasons, but is crazy wishy-washy about it, and kind of goes like 80% and like wants the other person to then break up with them type of deal, the other 20%. And it just be honest with where you're at and where the Lord is leading you, and obviously doing it as sensitively as possible, but it's not fun, or it's not fun news. And so but to be completely honest, but it goes the other way as well, and sometimes people break up and then they're, they slander, and they start to run their mouth, and social media can be crazy nasty, as you guys all know. And I would say probably one piece of advice is, if you're going to break up, I'd just stay off of social media for a while, to be honest, and just not even handle it. It's no one else's really business other than you and the other person, so it doesn't need to be shouted from the mountaintop.
Well, either does like dating. I think that goes back to where you guys start. Like, how much are you putting on social media? If you just started dating and you're already posting like, I love you, and like, I love this guy, blah blah, like I can't wait, whatever. I think just be cautious of how much you're putting on social media. So if it does end in a breakup, like, you don't have to delete all those photos and like explain why whoever, your boyfriend or girlfriend, is no longer in the picture.
Because if you're doing that, there should be a ring on your finger in about 3-4 weeks.
Wow.
Not that
And there you have it.
owe anybody an expectation.
Is there
or
going to be a new
explanation.
Mitch's?
That's a new
Not
block
a
in the
pyramid.
Mitch's
it's
pyramid.
got
of
another
dating.
shape. Mitch's
No, that is- that's
cylinder
one of the-
engagement or something.
That's
like
one of
that.
the pieces in the
Put a ring on.
Yeah. I like it. Put a ring on it.
I think it also, like, just, we've said it a lot, being honest and communicating throughout the entire relationship.
Yeah.
Knowing where each other are at, so that way when it comes to a point where if it does end in a breakup, like, you're not completely like blindsiding somebody, I guess. To do it well, and I think it goes back to having a Christ-centered relationship. And just because you have a Christ-centered relationship doesn't mean that you're going to end in marriage. Like, it could be that you break up, and the Lord can use that for something else, and the Lord can have you in that relationship for a reason, to teach you something or to reveal something else to you. But I think, like Mitch was saying, breaking up well, it's described well. If you're expecting roses, like, it's not going to be. There's hurt, there's different things, but it's how you deal, like, with it after the breakup, and how you respond to different things. And you don't want to go off slandering or being even like obsessive about it, or like stalking the other person, or hoping to get back together. And like, you need to act on the facts, and the fact is that you're broken up. And so what's next? Like, can you establish a friendship with this person or not? And like, I think that there's a lot that goes into this, but through that, having some good godly counsel, like whether it be somebody a leader in Resonate or whoever, like, invite others into that. Like, you shouldn't have to do it alone, and like have somebody come alongside you and hold you accountable to, like, how are you responding to this breakup? Are you dealing? Are you trying to hold it all into yourself and expect you to kind of get over it, or are you taking it to the Lord and allowing the Lord to transform your heart and get you to a spot where He wants you to be, and get you and prepare you for whatever is next. And also, as you go through the breakup and the process afterwards, like, other people see that, and other potential spouses see that, and so you don't want to have somebody else see you deal with this breakup in a poor way, then they're probably not going to be like, they're gonna be like, oh, kind of don't want to deal with that. So just have that thought as well, like how you're dealing with it. Yeah, it's affects you, but also it kind of affects the people around you. Could affect the people around you.
One thing you mentioned about having like a couple to have that couple or friend, if you're a guy, another guy friend,
Yeah.
prior to like involved in the relationship in the sense that, hey, they're helping you see, and then when you get to the point where you're like kind of feeling maybe this isn't, talk to them. Hey, what do you see? Do you think we're a good, are you seeing some of the same? Do you feel we should continue?
Yeah.
And get some input, and they can help you walk through the breakup. And then the second thing, and I don't know, I mean, obviously with all respecting the person, love, just get her done. All right.
Yes.
If you're gonna break the whole
In person.
like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
in person.
Not through text.
Not we
No.
talk
Social
about that.
media.
But when you know, when you know, do it. Like don't
Yeah.
like. I think that's the worst one for the other, because
Wishy-washy.
the longer you're in a relationship, the more attached you are. So when you know, like, hey, you know, I'm going out with somebody, and you know, I know it's not the thing, but we're having fun. I don't want to hurt her, etc. And so you don't do anything, knowing that down the road this isn't.
Then 2 months later.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
then she's gone 2 months further into the relationship, and it goes both ways. But
Yeah.
now that's harder on the person that you're breaking up with. So when you know, get it done.
Yeah.
Like rip the Band-Aid off. I know it's gonna hurt. Do it in a loving way though, and you know, respect the person. But quit holding things out because you know you don't know. Sometimes we do it just, well, it feels good to be dating, and I just, you know, I know I'm not gonna have anybody else, but I know this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the lone guy, you know, the lone single guy anymore.
I agree.
End it quickly.
And to just be done with it and have clear expectations of what your guys' relationship looks like from here on out. If you're involved in the ministry, if you're involved in serving together or different things like that, like you need to be able to be around that person. And so, but it can't be too much. Like you can't. You could say like, yeah, we could be friends and texting is fine. We can continue to text and we can continue to, if you like, maybe your thing was to go on walks together while you were dating. We can still go on walks and like that is not good. Like you need to be done. I would say texting or Snapchat, whatever you guys do, like, I don't think that is necessary. It's just gonna probably hurt the person who didn't want to break up, I guess, and just lead that person's mind somewhere else and maybe give a false hope or anything like that. So just be done with it, but also like be able to be around each other and communicate. And there is like you can be friends with that person. Like nowhere says like you have to like completely shut them out and be done. Like you can't. You have to look the other way. Like that's not the right plan either. But be able to be around each other, but no boundaries in that.
So part of breaking up well is, I think it's a big thing is running the relationship well in a godly manner, guarding against too much physical or spiritual or emotional intimacy, and you're both guarding your hearts. I would ask this, like, ask your leaders, ask adult leaders in Resonate or believers that you're close to. You can't see as clearly when you're 2 inches away from something as you will see it from 10,000 feet up. And so it may not be apparent to you at all, but from anybody on the outside, they're like, oh, this is in dire straits, or this isn't a good fit, or this isn't leading this person down. So please ask. I will give you my opinion, and you may not want that. But if you ask me my opinion, I will certainly give you an opinion about a guy or lady or your relationship as you detail that out, and I know other leaders would as well.
Time out, sorry.
Yeah.
Mitch mentioned this on, we're going through a relationship series kind of in Ignite, and on Sunday night he had brought up his pyramid that he made. Are you guys familiar? Hopefully,
The
maybe.
pyramid.
You might be familiar with the Tucker pyramid.
Pyramid
of
scheme.
dating.
Mitch's pyramid scheme.
Made a lot of money off.
So
Anyways.
you recruit 2 people to
You
sell
just get
phone
2 of your
cards.
friends to date, and then
Time
2
out.
more people.
I mean, time in.
Sorry. Casey's
So,
regulating.
just being around other people, including having friends. Like, what did it say? friends, it's bad. Who needs them? You need friends in a dating relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be spending all of your time together, just the two of you. You may want to, and like, it may be fun and exciting, and you want to be with this other person, but you really need to have good, godly friends around you to be able to point out some of those things Pierce was talking about. Your friends know you, and they know who you are already, and if they see you acting a different way around this guy or around this girl, like, they can call you out on that, and they can see kind of, maybe this isn't a good idea for you guys to be together, or if it does come to a breakup, they can help encourage you and support you along the way. But definitely invite others into your relationship. Don't just be like
Dating in isolation. Is that one of them in the pyramid?
secret dating.
Secret dating.
Secret dating.
There you go.
Yeah. That's
Dating in isolation, not hearing from friends, not seeking input, but just like, I want this so bad that I'm going to run after this no matter what, even if I start getting devastated by that. So, if you haven't been running your relationship well and it's just full of sin and those intimacy levels are all off the charts and you try to break up, well, don't expect roses from refuse. I underlined it. in
Was
my
that
notes.
was that your band name?
Yes.
That would be a cool
Roses
band
from
name.
Refuse. That was my girl band name.
girl band.
Just kidding. I was not in. I quit. And there Kevin goes, hey, where's Nathan? Where's Nathan? Is he? Okay.
Do you want me to text him?
Yeah.
Good friends
That'd be
don't
good
mock
if you
other
came in at
friends'
the end.
band names.
I'm sorry. Your band name was awesome.
I didn't pick it. But it was
I would just say good communication throughout, where you're at, touching base with, hey, are things still going well? If there's a big issue, communicate that. If it's, man, this could be a deal breaker. Like, I really don't like hockey, and that's my top deal breaker. And if this person likes hockey, like,
wow,
man,
that sounds very personal. Like,
if
really.
you start dating a hockey player and you're like, I really can't stand hockey players, then maybe communicate that and be like, hey, I wasn't really thinking, and this is really playing itself out.
Unless you're a dentist, it might be a good idea to do that.
So, yeah, so I would just say communication is key. Constant and open and clear communication done with love and respect. In breaking up, it's direct, it's loving, it's respectful. You're dealing it in person. Yeah. Anything else, or are we good to move on? Cool. All right, 4. When praying about whether or not a relationship is right with me, I'm assuming this is romantic, how do I find the balance between waiting to hear from the Lord and not just sitting around and getting stuck, making no decisions at all?
Sorry.
The giggles.
So obviously, maybe it's not obvious. I mean, the Lord's probably not going to part the clouds and just trying to rainbow at you and be like, hey, date this person right now. But he does through his word and through brothers and sisters in Christ and wisdom and so I say this a lot. This is an analogy that I did not come up with. So if you're trying to decide, if you should be in a relationship and who it should be with, your first focus is on Jesus Christ and your personal relationship with Him, and you're running that race, and your eyes are fixed on the Lord, and you're growing in becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ, and you're in love with Jesus Christ, and you are enjoying that personal relationship that you have with Him, and it's awesome. And then occasionally you look over to your left and to your right, and you might see some people, and you just kind of wave at them, but they keep on running your race towards the Lord. You don't ever lose that focus. And then after a while, if you continue to see the same person who is keeping pace with you, eventually you're like, hey, just come on over and let's run together. That's a slightly vague analogy, but that's kind of what it looks like. It starts with your personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and then it goes to the other person. Are they in a spot where they're mature enough, strong enough in their personal relationship with the Lord to handle the responsibility of you. And then after that, I mean, where are you at? You know, with perhaps, you know, providing financially if you're a guy, or just with your career and just life in general, and where the Lord is leading you individually, schooling wise or whatever doesn't make sense. I could be completely wrong, but I'm going to guess this question is coming from a guy, and I think sometimes when I've heard a question like this before, it means that a guy is sometimes he knows that he's ready to date and he's found the right person, but is just scared to ask her. And
So the line, God told me you should date me.
maybe not use that one.
Okay.
But you know, talk it over with other people, your friends, and with spiritual mentors and such. But sometimes the advice is going to be, stop being afraid. Just ask her out, for crying out loud. Stop dragging your feet. You guys have been friends for like 12 years, and you guys are both in a good spot. Just go for it, brother.
I mean, the question kind of applies, I think, just to everything in life. I mean, there's always this, like, you know, to a point we always have to do something. I mean, we're not earning our salvation, but when it comes to other things, God doesn't always make things like crystal clear at times for us. I mean, you know, if you need a job, you don't just sit there and pray, God give me a job, God give me a job. You start, you know, reading the newspaper. Geez, I'm dating myself. Look, you know, you go online, or you know, you're looking at Monster, or you know, you're hitting the pavement and going to these places and putting in applications, and in the process you're praying about those and evaluating. So it's a similar principle with dating, that you're not just going to sit back and hopefully God makes the perfect, especially if this is the guy, you know, that I'm just going to pray and eventually she's just going to walk through the door, ask me, I don't have to do anything. No, you're going to want to, like some of the things we talked about earlier, just be involved at church, and so you're getting to know people, you're seeing people, and maybe more of the group dates, and then when you see that somebody has a connection with you, and kind of that running analogy, which is weird for me, because if anyone's running beside me, I'm going to try to run faster so I can beat them. So maybe if they keep up with me, if they keep coming, you know, it's like, hey, I can't get rid of them, maybe it's time to, you know, but, you know, you see somebody you mesh well with, then maybe it's time to ask them out. That could be God's leading, you know, or opening it. And I also think, because we talked about the first video too, there's not just one. Like, that's some of this too, you know, you're afraid. There's always that fear, what if I miss the one? I remember a while ago there was a commercial for like watches, and it showed like people walking through, and because like one watch was like a tick off, you know, they like missed each other just by like seconds, and it's like they were to never, you know, it was like a business meeting or something. And so I think we approach dating like, well, if I just do, you know, all it could take is one little misstep, and I'm afraid to do anything, because what if I miss the one, or what if I'm asking this girl out and it's supposed to be this girl over here? And well, we have principles in the Bible, and you know, you look at things like, obviously, is she a Christian, and some of the like-mindedness. And I mentioned, like, for me, I had to have somebody who understood ministry. I knew I was going into ministry. I grew up in ministry, knew there's some particular demands on the spouse of a pastor, you know, and time frames, and I needed somebody who would understand that, and likely that was be somebody who had some parents who were in ministry, and that's what really led me to Ellen. That was like the big light bulb for her, you know, with her parents being involved with the rescue mission, and understood some of the hours and potential, you know, you're really never on, or you're never off, you know, you could be called in for something anytime, and know that there might be times I have to leave the dinner table because of an emergency or something. And all that to say, there's definite principles in the Bible. If it's leading you into sin, things like that, stay away from. But otherwise, you're kind of like, you got like maybe a pool, like you know, I mean, that sounds bad, but there's multiple opportunities, and go try those, and you know, ask somebody out in more of a casual kind of way, or get together some friends so you can see them, and then it kind of more and more. And then I think as you go, it becomes clear that person is the one, and that. But if you just sit back and hope everything happens, and it's going to be this or, you know, God's just going to give you a name. I'm not saying he can't, because he's God, he can do whatever he wants, and maybe there has been people who've done that too, but for the most part, that's not how he works. He asks us to kind of put some effort into life. You know, he's made us to have free will, to have the ability to think and to reason and to choose, and we need to use that in our dating, our relationships, our financial dealings, our jobs, our, you know, vacation places, and everything. We use our brains, and along the way we're praying that God is matching that, or we're matching God. And in a way, maybe he's the one running. We're trying to keep up with him, but when we see that it's not working, then you're done. You're out. You know, if God's clearly not opening that door, and yeah.
And just trusting that God has a plan, and that his plan is good, but we do have responsibility in that plan. Like, we have to take steps. We have to maybe put ourselves out there a little bit, and experience some things that may not work out. You may be praying about this for a while, and you may be interested in this other person, and thinking that it's leading to something. And if it doesn't, like, don't let that be a end all be all. Like, it's done and over with. I'm not dating ever again. I'm not, like, this isn't right, or whatever. Like, knowing that his plan is good for you, but we do have to respond with some sort of responsibility in that plan. Also, Tim talks about this sometimes on Sunday mornings, the 7 biblical decision-making steps. I think this is probably not if you're considering dating somebody, but more so like in the relationship, like praying about this relationship, if it's, if this is right for me right now, or if this is leading towards marriage, should I be making that step towards, like, if it's a guy proposing, going through those 7 biblical decision-making steps have been super helpful for me in the past, and I know I'm going to forget some of them, but do you guys know the 7 biblical decision-making steps? One is being
I don't.
Oh, if it's in a pyramid form.
yeah, God's word is
It
number
doesn't
one.
go against
Yeah.
God's word, right? It doesn't call you into sin.
Yeah, God's word, having good godly counsel. One of them is like, does this make sense? Does this make sense for you to continue to pursue this relationship and take next steps in the relationship?
And
Open
listening to
doors.
listening to the godly
Yes.
counsel too, not just
Don't
wanting
just
to
ask
get,
for it and
listen, like, yes, I want your counsel, and then I'm not going to hear any of it. I'm just going to do what I want anyways, but actually hear it and
Make
have
sure
some discerning in it.
Make sure you counsel who's aren't just going to be yes men or
Yes.
yes women,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like find someone
Good
who's
godly
willing
counsel,
to
yes.
call you out or
People that
challenge
speak
your,
truth to you even
Yeah.
when it's uncomfortable.
right. Another one I think is open and closed doors. So in dating, that's a huge thing. Like, somebody told me once: continue to walk through the door, and don't look for it to close. Don't be looking for the door to this relationship to close. Like, continue to walk through it, and you'll know when it's closed. So that was one. Something else has to do with, like, your passions and gifts. I don't know.
Skills, talents,
Yeah.
giftings, passions, yeah.
And then I don't know where we're at, but there was the last one was something about
Pray about it.
pray about it is one. Is that God's word, or is that? Anyways, I have those written
there are
down somewhere.
7.
You can
We
come to
have
me later. There's
4.
7 biblical
more
decision-making
than
steps
that.
that are
We have
super.
5,
Yeah, we've got 5. I think.
I thought we had 6 or 7. I don't know.
6 or 7.
I
They're all
tried to search for it in my notes, and I thought I had it, but I don't. I
Yeah.
know I have it written
Looking
down.
it up.
Like praying about it. Prayer journaling can help for you to write out your thoughts and words and to process that.
Thanks,
Consider
Mitch.
the list of non-negotiables that you've written down about, this is what I'm looking for in a godly woman or what I'm looking for in a godly man, and say, does this person meet that? The non-negotiables are really key. Some of the negotiables, like, well, they like, I don't know,
Hockey.
they like hockey. And you're like, I don't like hockey. Like,
Really
are you
don't
willing to
like
deal with somebody that's putting hockey on the TV if you're married or wants to go to hockey games? Like, can you put up with that if they meet all the non-negotiables? So,
And knowing knowing what your non-negotiables are, I think is important. Something, like, if he wants to live in the country and have this really simple life, but you're more of a city girl, is that
Non-negotiable.
is that
non-negotiable. Don't
Yeah.
mess around with those people.
Right.
But are you going to spend the rest of your life miserable living in the
Right.
country with this guy? Like, that's something that you have to decide. Like, can you maybe adapt a little bit to that type of lifestyle? Or are you going to, like, maybe at first it doesn't seem like a red flag, but when you get more serious in a relationship, like, do you want to spend your life?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a different life that you weren't expecting. And that could be a fine thing, could be a good thing, that could be what God wants, but like knowing those things, and because I think red flags are like, obviously you know you're gonna, well, hopefully, I guess I don't know, obviously you want a godly person, a godly spouse, and I think apart from that, like everything could maybe be negotiable. Mitch found the 7 biblical decisions.
Okay,
making
Mitch,
sense.
7 biblical.
I'm sorry.
Phrase fast. His word, wise counsel of other godly people,
There we go.
personal passions, gifts,
Sure.
open closed doors,
Yeah.
leading of the spirit,
Sure.
common sense,
Whoa.
staying true to my commitments.
I think
Yes.
we hit on all
Yeah.
those.
Roughly.
Common sense, yeah.
I'll end it with this and saying, as young adults, you're starting to make decisions on your own. You're going to make a lot of, to put it lightly, silly decisions as young adults, and you're going to mess up, and there's going to be consequences of those. It's just a part of figuring it out. I think Kevin's dealt a lot over 10 years or 10-ish years in junior
Silly
high
decisions.
with junior hires.
You saying I made a lot of silly? Yes, I made a lot of silly
No, I'm
decisions
saying,
in those
I'm
10
saying at a
years.
junior high level,
Amazing I'm still
your parent.
employed.
I'm saying, no, I'm not saying anything bad about Kevin. I'm saying
No.
junior hires, a lot of the decisions they're making are made by their parents, like what they're going to be doing, and they make some decisions for themselves. And then in high school, and you two deal with that, high schoolers, they're starting to make more and more decisions for themselves. And then college, your parents just sort of take a step back, and it's like you either fly or you fall out of the nest. And you're going to have to figure it out somewhat. And you still have parents, and you still have godly people in your life to help you make those decisions and give insight to those, but it's part of adulting. And so you're really on your own to start making some decisions, and there's going to be some mistakes, and that's all right. You can make those things, but if you use that grid, if you gain good perspective and that grid of decision making, it will help you make better decisions. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying you're never going to make a bad decision in your life. I still make bad decisions, and I work at a church. And I think all you guys make bad decisions at
Yours
times.
does. Yours does all the time.
I especially.
Some of his food choices are really.
Yeah. So you're going to have this is just the start of making decisions on your own and figuring that out and how to do that. And so having a good framework, having good principles to go by, and how you make any decision is key for the rest of your life, whether it's in a dating relationship or not. And again, you can come to any of the leaders that Resonate. You can come to me, and if you have questions about relationships or dating or any of this stuff.
Go to Kevin.
Mitch's number is right here. I'll put it at the
You
bottom
know,
of the screen.
if you see
Text
these
it.
three in church, you can just go up to them and say, hey, I saw this video. You may not know who I am, but I have questions. Pierce doesn't have good insight. Something like that. But like, man, we're a community. We're a family in the church. That's what Scripture makes clear. And so we want to care for, love each other, help each other out. I want you to make great decisions. It's all right if you make bad decisions and they're not the best, or they don't turn out the way you wanted them to.
I was going to touch on that. Don't allow a previous failed relationship identify you. The Lord can redeem you from that, and maybe there were some mess ups in the past, but don't let that stop you from moving forward in the future with another relationship. I think a lot of times that could be hard to see past a really tough maybe relationship and allow yourself to see like, oh well, I messed up, or I failed in that relationship, and so I'm not good at this, and so that I just need to be single forever or whatever. Like don't let that stop you from the Lord redeeming you for something else,
Absolutely.
someone else.
Yeah. And so Last question is one we already answered. It says, how far is too far with a significant other? We answered that in our previous video. If you still have questions about how far is too far, I don't know, whatever you do with your parents in the room, probably a good marker, or grandma, or whoever. Just being wise with that. Again, happy to answer any questions. Want to keep dialoguing about this as we head into the spring and even the summer, and maybe you're seeing this and you're away at school and like, oh, I don't know what we really talked about. Be happy to bring you up to speed on it. Appreciate you, Kate and Kevin and Mitch and Nathan. He wasn't Nathan. He's off camera. He just didn't answer any of them.
We'll Photoshop him in. I'll just sit here.
I have a little sign with his head on it I should have brought.
Yes.
I forgot.
Get
So,
stuck in the back of the couch here and just kind of like peering every time I'm like, ah.
anyways, love you guys. Appreciate this, and looking forward to running after Christ with all of you the spring, summer, and forever, however long you're in the ministry. Okay, thanks.
Happy dating.